What's up, y'all? It's your boy LeBrad. I don't know, today I've been thinking about warrior energy. So I'm going to do a reading from the Earth Warriors Tarot, the Earth Warriors Oracle. And I guess the message that I was channeling about warriors is that, if you are actually a spirit warrior, I already got a card jumping out. So interesting. So if you're a spirit warrior, right, and I got card number 22 and this lion, that's significant because last night I saw a lion in my dream. But the thing about the warriors is that, if you are actually moving in spirit and fighting the battles, right, effectively, then you don't always get, um, you don't always get to see, the the I don't know, the chaos, the evidence of it, right? Because you're fighting it in spirit, and then that stops things from unfolding in the 3D. So it's kind of an interesting thing that happens, and so that can be very tough, because you're moving in spirit and actually, assisting in these battles that, if you didn't, probably much worse things would unfold. So the evidence is that the things don't happen. Sometimes it's just your presence, that like your physical presence there brings your spiritual warrior there, and then the chaos doesn't ensue, if that makes sense. I'm gonna meditate on that a bit. With this lion, what I was seeing in my dream is that I was swinging it. So first I saw this almost like an Eden. I don't know how to describe it. It was like a meadow, and there was just birds and butterflies and flowers, just a lot of color, just in this like pasture or meadow. And it was so full, it almost looked like a flower garden, but it was just alive with like butterflies, and the butterflies were like just bright yellow and very exotic looking. The birds were very exotic looking, in blues and yellows and purples, and it was just lush, just so lush. And I'm viewing this from above. I'm kind of like swinging above all of this and looking down at it. But then I noticed that there is a lion kind of patrolling around this area. Patrolling around. But I was out of the reach of the lion. So I'm getting that, and whenever I see the lion, it's always this thing of, kind of taming the lion. That you're able to reach into the mouth of the lion. It's a strong connection to nature that allows you to do that. And that strong connection is a spiritual connection. And above, I'm seeing, the moon cycles. This is card number 22, which of course is a master number. You may be a master number 11, 22, or 33. Specifically, 22, which is the master teacher, I believe. So you may be spreading knowledge. I'm also seeing an emphasis on the third eye there. So again, this is about intuition. This is about spirit, and the cycles. So something is happening. Something is coming, and it's about like a victory that's happening. Kind of being out of reach of the lion. It's a very interesting one. You may be a Leo, may be dealing with a Leo moon. This is Ignoyama. in this dream, I also saw someone handing me a stack of cash. So this may be incoming financial wealth. It was a big stack of cash. I was like, they handed it to me, and then I was counting it out. I was seeing a lot of, a lot of fives, tens, hundreds. I was kind of like counting it out, spreading it out, like matching the bills together. And as I was seeing the lion before that too, and swinging above, I could see, I don't know, the sense of energetic connection. So someone perhaps that you have an energetic connection to that you aren't necessarily connected to in the 3D may be involved in this. So they are lurking around, kind of, wanting to see what's going on with you. I'm getting that. At the bottom was Nana Baluku. She rests to create. So perhaps you need to, this is a time for resting and creation. The line is also, we're in Leo season. The sun is in Leo, so it is a time of, kind of when you get to step out. So it may be that by the time the full moon rolls around in this Leo season, that's when you kind of step out. But for now, it's time to rest, because there's something that's upcoming that you'll need to create, that you'll need to use some of that energy. You may be tempted to not rest into, I spoke about this in my reading recently, tempted to not rest and to put a lot of that energy into sexual things, but it's best to store it up and put it into creative outlets. Earth Warriors Tarot. What else did I see in this dream? It's a very vivid dream. Lots of symbolism. Of course, when I see like very colorful things in the dream, that stands out to me. And there was a lot of color in this particular dream. It was almost like I was seeing this very whimsical Garden of Eden. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that in a dream before. But let's see if there's anything from these. Ooh, the trumpet. That's the train coming past. But that horn. Horns are about, alerting you to something. It's time for something. Oh, that card wants to get away. I'm not even going to be able to get it. Got between the seat. This space in between the seat just likes to eat up everything. But let's see what that is, if I can get to it. And then I'm about to turn on some. Ellen DeGeneres and Area 51. Ellen DeGeneres in 1958. Comedian, actress, and talk show host. She was also the voice of Dory in Finding Nemo. Remember? Yeah, Dory was like always forgetting everything like moments after it happens. And Ellen's been around for a long time. 1958 is actually kind of interesting because that is my mom's birth year rather. And I know quite a few other people born that year. But okay, before I get to this Area 51 card, but that being forgetful, so someone maybe isn't remembering something, that could be about calling back in your power. Ellen has had, lots of rebirths, right? Because I can remember the Ellen DeGeneres show, not the talk show, the actual sitcom, which was very, very funny. And I feel like, when that was out and she came out as a lesbian, it became like, oh, children shouldn't watch it. At least, in my household, it was kind of like that. And she later would do the talk show. Of course, that was wildly popular, and then she kind of disappeared. I don't know, something. There was some controversy around Ellen, like a little bit, and what was going on with her employees. I guess I don't know. I wasn't too tapped into that story. But then also, like, as a comedian, her style of comedy, like when she was doing stand-up, was very, very different. It's very, very fast and Gemini. Not too many people do the type of quick-witted comedy that she does. Something very unique about her. And then with this Area 51 card, now that does remind me, because my mom was born in this year, and because they're talking about UAPs, I could share that my mom and grandma actually had, it's one thing when you see something by yourself, but when other people see it with you, it adds some validity to it. People can't say that you're schizophrenic. Now, I've had a lot of, experiences that are just my unique experiences, right? And so people can say what they want to say about that, and, they're welcome to their opinions, but I still, believe what I believe. But my mother and grandmother actually, and I believe one of my aunts, or perhaps even two of my aunts, I think I've went and interviewed everyone who kind of told me about this, and everybody's like, oh yeah, I was there. But I know for sure that my mother and grandmother were there, because they were in the backyard taking clothes from the clothesline, and a UAP came down on them. Now, I don't know if you call this the first kind, the second kind, the third kind, probably not the fourth kind, but this was one where you typically, if you see a sighting, you just see something out there in the sky, that's the first kind. But the way that my grandmother described this to me, they saw this orb, this ball of light. My mother describes it as rainbow light, but my grandma actually described it as something like a fireball. So perhaps it was, brighter at moments and more rainbow, depending on, who was seeing it. But that it came down on them. Now, the difference in the order, like the first kind, the second kind, my grandmother says that it came so close to them. So this is not just something that they're seeing from afar. My grandmother said it came down so close that she began to squat. Like, she started going down to the ground because it's like it's going to overtake them. Now, I don't know if you call that an interaction with it. They didn't see beings. They didn't see anything that was, operating this, which makes me think that it's more akin to something that is described in the Bible, angels traveling in a ball of light, than what they're talking about recently, a tic tac. And of course my mom says that many people in the community saw this thing and they said that it was a weather balloon. And maybe it was a weather balloon, but I have never seen a weather balloon in real life, so maybe weather balloons look like an orb of rainbow light or a fireball. But they describe like this very intense experience with that. And Area 51 is out in Vegas. I'm sure Ellen has performed in Vegas before. Or maybe it's not in Vegas, but it's out there somewhere in the desert. They say people who work there, they go to the airport in Vegas, they go to this terminal, just another non-existent terminal, they fly out to Area 51 and go to work. And it may just be where they do a lot of experimental technology or reverse engineering or whatever. Like I'm 41. I grew up with having the internet very early on, and I was very interested in UFOs and stuff like that. So I remember reading about this stuff on the internet, in the 90s and whatnot. And what a lot of people probably today is just like, oh, that's just conspiracy theory. But it sounds like now a lot of conspiracy theory is becoming real. And I don't like to go too deep into all that stuff, because then it's easy to discredit you as kind of being a nut job or whatever. And if people call you a nut job, let them. I mean, most people are doing very real nut jobby shit. Excuse me. So just being curious about stuff is not so bad, right? It's only problematic if your craziness makes you do something evil or bad. Otherwise it's not really an issue, right? It's like they say, it's okay to hear voices as long as the voices don't tell you to kill people. That reminds me too, when I worked with Google, I worked on I worked on this campaign called Physigunkus. Physigunkus was this word, you should look it up, Physigunkus. I think it's Fysigunkus. I could be wrong, but Physigunkus, I believe, means a person who is devoid of any curiosity. And I'm quite the opposite of that. I'm very curious about different things. I'm curious about what interests me. And so this idea that the universe is vast and there may be other intelligence, or perhaps even, because like I said, I've been looking at this a long time. I remember some of the most compelling theory around this stuff that resonated with me was that perhaps what people see are beings from not they're not extraplanetary beings or extra dimensional beings, but from a different point in time. So perhaps people from way into the future coming back for some agenda. And what I heard is that agenda is often that as people evolve to seek knowledge and have less of an emphasis on spirituality, they later realize that spirituality is something that you need, so they come back to kind of integrate our current DNA into the future, because it's something that was lacked. I don't know, that sounds